welcome to another day of my vlog. Today we are in my kitchen and I don't know whether a lot of you are aware, but I love to follow different sort of challenges. I'm currently doing the 100 days of makeup challenge on my Instagram page. I came across another challenge which is meant for the month of January, and that is make a meal a day. And this challenge was basically created to promote a healthier lifestyle. That's one, because home cooked food is always healthy because you know how it's prepared, you know what ingredients are going in. Point number two is it's also looking at savings, because you are definitely going to be buying all the raw materials and ingredients, and of course it's definitely much more cheaper on the budget as well. So if you're looking at saving, I would recommend you guys to give this a try. Personally, for me, it's not very practical. The only reason is because I work really long hours and I don't have time to honestly get up a little bit earlier and cook those extra meals. I don't do all 3 meals. However, I'm willing to do 2 meals, and the third meal is definitely from outside, and that's okay, and I think that's still not so bad. But yeah, I mean, the challenge is ideally meant for all 3 meals, but I think I will just do with 2 meals from home. To help you guys out, I'm actually going to try out and do a recipe from which was originally found on Veg Recipes India, and I really like it a lot. It is paneer matar masala, which is paneer and peas curry. Quite spicy, I mean quite rich, and it's really nice. It's a good thing to have. So today I'm actually going to make this dish for about 4 people. Now I normally like my portion sizes to be a little bit larger when it comes to the gravies, because I'm a person who eats more of the gravy and less of the rice or the chapati. Without further ado, let's get into the cooking. I'm sure that you guys will be excited. I will leave a link in the description below for the written recipe of this. Now, there's one thing I wanted to share before we go into the rest of this video, is that though I might not be able to show all my January recipes that I'm going to be using, because this is the only one that I really like, which I'm going to be using from online. The rest of the recipes that I will be featuring, or I'm planning to feature on my channel, will be all recipes that I use personally at home, that I learned from my mom or my granny or my friend. And yeah, so I'm basically going to be featuring those recipes, but it's not going to be a lot. I'm not going to feature every day this month, but I'm going to try as much as possible to bring to you as many videos so I can help you out with meal ideas. But I'm going to go into the ingredients really quickly. Now we're going to make first a paste. Now this paste will have 3 medium tomatoes, 2 green chilies roughly chopped, 3 garlic cloves roughly chopped, a half an inch of ginger, about 12 to 13 of cashew nuts, 1 medium to large onion roughly chopped, 3 tablespoons or a bunch of coriander. Well, you're supposed to roughly chop it, but I'm just going to put it as a whole and let the blender chop it. 3 cloves for the spices, a cinnamon stick, which is about, well, I've chosen a skinny one, but you can choose a thick 1-inch cinnamon stick, and that should be good enough. And 4 to 5 black peppercorns. Now this all is going to go into the blender along with 1 teaspoon of coriander seeds. Now I did not have coriander seeds, so I'm going to be using coriander powder. So I've just put all the ingredients into the blender right now. Whatever you saw on the plate has been transferred out here. And I'm just going to put in the 1 teaspoon of coriander powder, and we're going to go to blitzing. Putting in my 1 teaspoon of coriander powder, and I'm just going to spread this around. You don't need to add water into this mix because the tomato juices will as it is liquidify it. So don't need to worry about it. Let's go ahead into blitzing it. So I've got my blender on my power. Now anybody can use any blender. I'm just using this jug. This is what I have in my house, you know guys, so don't judge me. So I'm gonna go ahead into blitzing it. It's gonna be noisy. Let's just check on the mix. Sometimes you might need to kind of scrape things out from the side. Oh, okay. Yeah, it looks good. I'm just gonna scrape off everything from the side just to make sure that we get all the goodness in. As you can see, Most of the stuff is actually ground, but I'd like to give it just another spin just to be double sure. Give this another spin. So yeah, I forgot to put the lid on properly and got it pretty much everywhere now. That's a mess to clean, but we clean it up and continue on. So I'm not going to go into the list of the ingredients that I need for the main process. Now obviously we need paneer. Now we need about 250 to 300 grams of paneer. I am specifically using Hudson paneer, no specific reason. There are other brands. I like Milky Mist as well. I just had these in the supermarket, so that's what I got. This pack is 200 grams. That's just another pack which I've cut into 1 inch width by 1 centimeter height and 1 centimeter breadth. So yeah, just to have bite-sized pieces. I like that. And then I'll just be cutting this open up and chopping this up some more. Then you need 1 cup of peas. You need 1 to 1.25 cups of water. That's 250 to 315 mils of water. You will need, in no particular order I'm saying this, a half teaspoon of garam masala, a half teaspoon of cumin seeds, a quarter teaspoon of turmeric. They say in the recipe, in the original recipe, you'll find a half teaspoon of red chili powder, but I live in a spicy family, so basically I'm putting 1 teaspoon of red chili powder and half a teaspoon of sugar, which is optional. I also need 2 to 2.5 tablespoons of ghee. This is the ghee brand that I use in my house. It's from local produce. Also taste, coriander seeds to garnish. Now the recipe also says that I can add a tablespoon of cream. I'm skipping that for this process. This is good enough. Let's get started into cooking. Now for this process, I'm actually going to use my wok. Now this is a pretty deep wok that I know will fit in all that paneer as well as have space for gravy. So the recipe basically says to immediately start into the gravy, but I like to do one process with my paneer before that, which is basically I'm going to fry my paneer in a little bit of oil just to get them a little bit brown, and I like a little bit of color. I just think for me, that's visually a little bit more appealing. So that's what I'm going to do. Lit my tawa. So put that, and I'm going to double in some oil. So ideally I would just probably want to pour it in, but just for the sake of this video I'm doing it a little gracefully. But yeah, probably I would just be that kind who takes a can of oil and empties how much ever oil I want just by opening the lid like that. So, but yeah, for the sake of this video I'm going to be a little bit girly. Alrighty, I think that should be enough of oil. It might look like a lot of oil, but don't worry, you need a bit of color on the thing. And beyond this, I'm not going to actually be adding any more oil into this dish. Now you want to bring this a little bit to the heat. I also wanted to say that if at any point of time you feel like as though you want to pause the video, don't mind it, do pause the video, and you can cook along with me as well. Or if you don't want to cook along, make sure you actually grab your Diet Pepsi or your popcorn so that you can watch this video and enjoy it and get tempted and tell me that, hey, I felt tempted, I wanted to cook this. And it's easy, it's actually really not that hard. So I feel it's hot enough for me right now, and I'm going to start putting in, and I did put it on high, like it's on full flame, but I'm going to reduce it now. So this was a full flame, so I'm going to reduce it now to half heat because I don't want my paneer to get burnt as soon as I put it in. So I'm just going to empty it. Oh, I love the sizzle. So this just happens to be my favorite cooking utensil. I love being able to turn gravies, which I need to turn a lot or toss a lot. So I use this. It's just comfortable for me. It's a spatula essentially, a silicone one. I really like it. So yeah, what is your favorite utensil to use for stirring your pot? Don't forget to leave it in the comments below. Can you guys see that? I don't think you can, but that's a bit of color going on. So don't stir too much, just stir it and then let it sit. Yeah. So I hope you can see that some of them have some really nice color. At this point of time, you can actually switch it off. It's okay. Everything doesn't have to be the same color. At this point, you can definitely turn the gas off, or you can just simply transfer all the paneer into another plate, which is what I'm going to do. Alright, now that we have all our paneer out, we'll move on to the next stage. So because I added oil before, I'm actually just only gonna half portion of ghee. So just taking 1 spoon of ghee, plonking that in. Now this is supposed to be a rich dish, yeah? So don't get freaked out just because we are putting in this massive spoon of ghee. So now the ghee has a very short metal point, so it will smoke quite easily. Not to worry. At this point of time, we will add cumin seeds. Let the cumin seeds splutter for a bit. So you can hear this cumin seeds spluttering. So this was the ground paste, if you remember. We're just going to add this. Now don't worry that this ground paste is actually thick. We will add water later. You will see spluttering happening with the ground paste, not to worry about. Don't worry, it will happen, it's normal. Now that I've put all of the ground paste in here, I'm going to stir it. Just mix the oil in. It will splutter. I did dabble on some of the ground paste down there, but that's okay. It will splutter. Now you need to let this simmer up for about 10 to 12 minutes. It'll splutter. I am going to lid this. Now luckily the reason why I chose this glass is just so that I can see how it's going on, but we give it for about 10 minutes. So the spluttering has stopped. Now see that the oil is separated from the gravy. It looks really gorgeous. Now one of the reasons for letting this simmer for as long as it did was basically to get all the raw ingredients that we ground cooked. So all the tomato, the onions, the garlic, the ginger, everything really cooked nicely. You can see that the gravy is become thicker than what we originally put in, and the color has also changed to a much more deeper brown. But at this point of time, we can move on to the next step, adding the rest of the spices. Start by adding the 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric, 1/2 teaspoon of garam masala, and as I explained to you why earlier, because I have a spicy family, so I'm putting 1 teaspoon of red chili powder, but the recipe says 1/2 teaspoon. Now we just stir all these things in. So we can now add the 1 cup of peas and some salt to taste. To begin with, I'm just adding like a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, but you can add more as it goes. Like you can always add more salt, but you can never reduce the amount of salt that you add. And that's something to keep in mind. So always go less, and then you can always increase it once the temperature is down a little bit so that you can taste it and figure it out along as we go. You can also add the sugar. Again, the sugar is labeled as an optional ingredient. Now the original recipe says that you can cook this in a pressure cooker. I personally don't use pressure cookers too often. I mean, I'm sure it saves time and everything, but yeah. But I feel like also peas don't really need too much time to cook, so I don't mind them cooking in a normal tawa. For me, at least, I feel like peas at least takes about 10 minutes to cook. So I'm going to let this simmer. I'm going to sneak in a taste. Definitely get a good hit of spice. And it's really nice. The family would love it. At this point, you can also add the 1 tablespoon of cream or malai. That's up to you. I've skipped it in this recipe. I'm gonna add my water now and stir the pot again. This is mostly also to get the peas cooked. At the same time, you will get a little extra gravy to go along with your paneer. Now, the paneer is the last thing that we'll be adding to this dish, only because paneer takes a really short time to cook and then it'll get a little too rubbery if you add it in earlier. So that's not the last thing that we're going to add into this. Now I'm going to lid this back again and let this simmer. So this gravy has been simmering right now. Let's just check on how it looks. It looks and it smells amazingly awesome. I'm actually loving it. Stirring the pot again. The peas definitely look cooked, so that's a good sign. It's a sign that we can move on. This would be a good time to actually check your salt, because it's the final step that we're going to come to before we add the paneer. We can just chunk the whole thing in there and then just stir in the paneer. Just stir to coat the entire paneer in the gravy. Now I've cooked this recipe quite a lot of times before, and I know it always turns out to be a favorite of both adults and especially the children, so that's why I enjoy cooking this so much. At this point in time, you can just leave it to 1 or 2 minutes to cook and the paneer will be done. As a final step, we can just garnish this dish roughly with really nice chopped coriander, and that's the finished dish. So if you happen to try this recipe, don't forget to click it and definitely put it up on your Instagram page and tag me. And you can also tag Veg Recipes India, for which I originally learned this, because I obviously believe that they need to be given credit as well. This dish is now ready to eat, and you can serve it with chapati or naan or rotis. So if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button to stay notified for all my upcoming videos. I hope to see you guys soon. Till the next time, and till the next recipe, bye!